We're here to hear comments on the 2022 tax rate used to fund 2023 budget.
Here.
Commissioner Castro.
Here.
Commissioner Russo.
Here.
Commissioner Law.
Here.
Judge Mills.
Here, unanimous. We have quorum.
Have a quorum.
Well, any comments from anyone? Any comments from anyone on Zoom?
From my neighbors, and they have expressed a very strong desire for us to keep it at the no new revenue rate minus the 1 cent.
All right.
Same here.
For clarification, that would be just the no new revenue rate, not the rate minus a penny.
Right, minus the extra penny. So in other words, at the no new revenue rate. Of course, they prefer that we manage to lower the rate. It's just they didn't think that was likely to happen.
Morning. Again, we're here to hear any comments on the 2023 proposed tax rate and budget. All right, we can sit here another 5 or 6 minutes and see if anybody's going to talk, or we can make a motion to adjourn. Which one would you like?
Move to adjourn. I'll
Motion
second.
made, second. Commissioner Cheney. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castro.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Law.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. We'll be back at 9 o'clock.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please join me as I pray. As always, Father, we're thankful for the blessings of this day and just for the privilege of living in this great country and state and community. And Lord, leaders are so important. Throughout centuries of thousands of years of biblical history, when we had good leaders in over countries, the countries prospered. When we had leaders that weren't so good, then we went into the decline. So leaders are so important. Leaders direct the direction that a county or a city or a state or a country will go. And so it's so important, Lord, that we have leaders that can direct us in the proper way. And we have these kind of leaders. We've been blessed in this county, and the future leaders will be that also. So we pray you give them your wisdom, direct every decision they make, and speak to their hearts so that they'll consider all the issues and make decisions that benefit the citizens and taxpayers of this great county. We trust you, Lord, and we place this county in your hands. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Here.
Commissioner Russo.
Here.
Commissioner Lawler.
Here.
Judge Mills.
Here. Okay, we have one citizen to be heard, Mr. Burge. Richard Burge. Okay. All right, we have a presentation. Aaron Horan and Mont McDonald awarding Judge Mills and Western Dredging Association 2022 Environmental Excellence Award, Cedar Bayou reopening.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Aaron Horan. I'm a Principal Coastal Engineer with Mont McDonald. And I've got an award for you today, Judge. So this is an award that's actually 20 years in the making. It goes back to, whenever Judge started here in the county as the judge and really took on Cedar Bayou as his baby, and has been really spearheading the effort to keep funding coming to it, keep effort on it, and really keeping a lot of attention to it. So the Western Dredging Association, WEDA, has awarded Judge Mills its 2022 Environmental Excellence Award for the Cedar Bayou Reopening Project. The award, given in the category of mitigation or adaptation to climate change, recognizes projects that enhance resilience and reduces risks to shorelines, waterways, infrastructure, and fresh estuarine and marine water resources. Cedar Bayou is an ephemeral inlet located 12 miles west of Rockport. When it's open, it provides natural flow to approximately 22,000 acres of wetlands. These serve as a migratory passage for fish and critical habitat for endangered species such as piping plover, red knot, whooping crane, and several species of sea turtle. Over the years, the channel's connection to the Gulf of Mexico has been opened and closed due to both natural processes and human interaction. And in 1979, it was closed to protect the bay system from the effects of the Ixtoc oil spill. In 2014, Judge Mills and Mont McDonald designed a project to remove 600,000 cubic yards of sand from the tidal inlet system to reconnect the Gulf of Mexico for the first time in 8 years, and the full Cedar Bayou and Vinson Slough system in almost 30 years. Unfortunately, Hurricane Harvey, as we all know, hit the Texas coast in August 2017, resulting in a sediment buildup at the tidal inlet and the closure of the channel once again. The challenge to maintaining a stable and resilient channel is addressing variability caused by climate change in a manner that is environmentally sound and economically feasible. In 2021, the Aransas County team, led by Judge Mills and John Strothman, designed a template for the dredging area that mimics the natural flow and migration of the channel. The optimized template reduces the dredge volume, mitigates adverse impacts to sensitive habitat, increases the longevity of this vital link to the Gulf, and helps support the economy in Aransas County. And on the plaque, it says Western Dredging Association's 2022 Environmental Excellence Award. WEDA takes pleasure in presenting WEDA's 2022 Environmental Excellence Award for mitigation and adaptation to climate change for the project team for Cedar Bayou and Vincent Slough Reopening Project, Aransas County, Texas, with C.H. Burt Mills Jr., John Strothman, Aaron Horine, Luis Marstani, Derek Salazar, and Thomas Everett. Congratulations on an excellent project.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll stay open this time for a while. Okay, we have another presentation from Christopher Brandt, Executive Director of Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group, and Danielle's here to back him up. Come on up.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to come visit with you a little bit about the work that Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group has done throughout this region, and what our hope is for moving forward with future events. Christopher's going to hand out, just
Danielle,
provide, sir?
Identify yourself, please, for the record.
My apologies. Danielle Hale. I'm here in the capacity of board member for Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group. I'm also a Aransas County resident and reside at 110 South Sierra Woods. Had to think about that for a second. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. So as Christopher hands that out, that's just a little bit of kind of high level of what Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery is. Let me provide you a short kind of history, and then we've got a video, and I'll turn it back over to Christopher to share some of the specific numbers for Aransas County. Prior to the development of Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group, we had an organization called Coastal Bend Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. And this was a coalition of partners from throughout the region that knowingly had a mission to support communities after a disaster. This included, your Catholic Charities, your Salvation Armies, American Red Cross, but you also had others from communities, education organizations, and others that would participate, and so that we could be prepared for disasters. In that organization, we had essentially an ad hoc process for long-term recovery. There would be a disaster in the region. We would stand up the ad hoc long-term recovery committee, and we would go to work. The big challenge with an ad hoc process is that we were essentially starting from scratch each time. So we had flooding on the Nueces River as an example, or we had other major incidents in the region, and we were literally starting from scratch. We did not have an ability to fundraise early in the disaster because we weren't set up as a committee until the need was already well established. We didn't have a way to manage cases. How did we receive clients and track clients through their long-term recovery process? And it was really just clunky at best. And so we sat down as a group. We probably started 2014 discussing how we could establish a standing committee that already had all of the processes and everything lined out. At the time, I served as the Nueces County Emergency Management Coordinator under Nueces County Judge Lloyd Neal, and we had a flood event in 2015. Concurrent to that was a pretty significant event, or tied to that 15 flood was the Wimberley flood. And if you remember, we had some local residents in Nueces County who were directly impacted, including now former Mayor Joe McComb, who was one of my commissioners when I was with Nueces County. And so the court really said, Danielle, we want to make sure that this never happens in Nueces County. We want to make sure that we have a way to manage donations and volunteers and that we're prepared. So with that, we established a contract with the Coastal Bend Council of Governments to develop a donations and volunteer management plan for each of the counties in the region. It was a template that was established so that each county could pull down from that. In that process, we also established the standalone disaster recovery group as we know it today. It's a long-term recovery group. It's well-defined within state and national standards for long-term recovery. We brought in experts from across the state that had done this before. Most notably was Bastrop from the Bastrop fires. And we said, if you were to do this all over again, starting from scratch, how would you do it? And we took their advisement along with others. At the time, there were no standing long-term recovery committees that had existed prior to a disaster. Everybody thought it was a great idea, but had not managed to get that off the ground. And so as a result of the 2015 flooding, the development of a donations and volunteer management plan that would be available to each of the counties through the Council of Governments, we also established the Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group. Key to that group was that we had existing protocols. We understood kind of ahead of the disaster what the limits of aid would be. And so that could be well defined with our jurisdictions that it would maybe need assistance. And that also we have a way to receive funding and maintain it in a way that is clear and transparent. We established a relationship with the Community Foundation, which has a long track record in this region of providing long-term investments for nonprofits and foundations throughout the area. And so we established an agreement with them, essentially give us a check and balance, and should CBDRG not survive in the long term, like many other intending to do well committees do, that money would be safe and in an area that would be to the benefit for disaster recovery and be reserved for such. So the 2015 flood, we activated, we did a lot of good work to develop those protocols and establish our process. And we were actually this week, 5 years ago, about to do our after action for that event and formally close out that disaster. Again, CBDRG designed to be a long-term recovery committee that's standing for all disasters. We were not shutting down CBDRG. We were just closing out the 15 federally declared disaster. We canceled that meeting because there was a little storm brewing that was coming this way, and the rest is history. So following Hurricane Harvey, myself coming to meet with Judge Mills and others in the Emergency Operations Center, our president at the time with CBDRG, Reverend Beth Tatum with the United Methodist Coalition, she came and we met with officials. We met with John Jackson, who had been designated to assist with some of the fundraising, as well as the Chamber Foundation, and worked through what the process would be for CBDRG to be your long-term recovery organization. I think we did a great job. Again, this was, we were a young organization, but we were designed correctly with the end goal in mind. And that was that we would have a dedicated long-term recovery group to this region that did not exist before and still does not exist moving forward. We are the sole long-term recovery group that does the type of work we do specific to individuals. We don't commingle our work with public assistance or other economic development or any of those other things that come with long-term recovery. This is specific to individuals. And what's most important is that we as a long-term recovery are there until the very end. We're the last organization still providing assistance to Harvey victims or survivors in this area. And that we want to make sure that those individuals are able to maximize all available aid. So all of the other organizations that are doing great work in this community, they're going to still work through them. But we're going to work with FEMA and the Small Business Administration and figure out what's at the end, including General Land Office and any of those unmet needs that still exist after all of the other local aid, state and federal aid is exhausted. Then we have a mechanism to pick up those folks. So with that, Colin, if you'll play our video, and then I'll turn this over to Christopher.
when the hurricane was coming, I didn't get out of work until 6 o'clock, and it was only 150 miles out. I didn't have time to prepare. I didn't have time to do anything. So I got back to my house and I grabbed my kids. I came back and to nothing. There was nothing here. Everything was ruined. We all slept in the living room on blankets with the windows and doors open because the walls and the mildew, and my middle son has asthma. So he had to sleep with his inhaler because he couldn't breathe. It was horrible.
Ya estaba cansado de estar en el trailito. Y yo me puse a orar. Y me fui a las 4 de la mañana a orar a la casita. Yo le dije a él que estaba bien, que iba a buscar una casa en otro lugar 7 horas de aquí. Y eso fue un lunes. Y a las 7 de la mañana, 8 de la mañana, timbró el teléfono y mi hija me dice, mamá, te hablan. Le digo, ¿quién es? Dice que es ayuda. Yo tenía registrado el número como ayuda.
When I found out I was approved, I just cried. Every step of the way, and just such a blessing. And this company is such a blessing. And they truly do help people who are trying so hard to get back on our feet and make a better life from what we had. And just hope and to give our kids a forever home that they can be proud of, that they can breathe in, that I can breathe in.
De blanco y negro yo la vi. Y es de 3 recámaras y 2 baños. Todo es diferente. Porque mis hijas no tienen espacio ni privacidad. Y hoy ellas tienen su privacidad, su cuarto, su baño, porque siempre discutían por su baño. Hoy tienen su baño.
This takes a community coming together, each one with their gifts, finances, administration, coordination, swinging, peeling apples, cooking. It's been an amazing thing bringing people together. Ultimately, God gets the glory, and so that's who it belongs to.
We were there at the very beginning, and we, in partnership with Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group, formed that foundation that Mennonite Disaster Service could link directly into. They bring tremendous capability to our region and skills. What they lack is the connection to the community, and that's exactly what Coastal Bend Disaster Recovery Group and Catholic Charities could provide.
As Christopher comes up, many of the organizations that are members of the coalition have donated directly to the coalition. It's not all inclusive. There's a lot more, but we try to kind of pick those that were the more larger of the contributors to recognize as we move forward. Again, CBDRG is a coalition. It's an organization of organizations, if you will. It's not one entity standing alone. It is a coordination entity for all of these others that are doing work.
Thank you. Just to interrupt you, she took about 1.6 minutes of your time. That's
Not that you're counting,
that's
right, Judge?
Danielle for you.
Anyway, I just first like to say thank you for allowing us to be here today. It's so close to the 5-year anniversary. It means a lot to CBDRG. I think the thing that is probably understated that we don't express enough is the reason why we have to be here, long-term recovery group, which differs from short-term or immediate care, is because the national agencies, the National VOAD, the National Volunteer Organizations, need to plug in somewhere. Lake Charles in Louisiana, they have all these people that want to go there to help, and there's nobody in charge. And so that's what we provide, is we provide a conduit so these national organizations come to us, like the Mennonites who you saw there, the Amish, and they're like, we have hammers, we have nails, we want to get going. And so then we're the ones that help coordinate the different agencies, different case managers, so that they can go to work. And that's primarily the primary thing that we do that I think probably serves the community the most, is that we are the big top where everybody can go to work together to coordinate so that we can get stuff done. But we're also crazy in the sense that we do a lot of other stuff too. We have construction, we have fundraising, we have case management, spiritual and emotional care. We do a lot. And I'm really proud of what our organization has done, and I want to tip my hat to Danielle, because Danielle is one of our founding board members, and without her, we wouldn't have been able to help all these people. I'm just going to go by the numbers of what CBDRG did. So over $16 million in construction. CBDRG spent $9.2 million in construction. We were able to utilize $3.4 million in volunteer labor. That's an estimate of the volunteer labor. Almost all of it is skilled, like the Mennonites who come from out of the state. Also, our construction managed $4.1 million in construction. What that means is there's agencies with money, but they don't know how to build a house, or they don't know how to plug into a house. So they paid the bill and we built the house for them. We helped 215 homes be replaced in the coastal bend. 81 those homes were actually built by CBDRG that met TWIA windstorm certification and were actually issued a WPI 8. All of our lumber comes here locally from Builders First Source to McCoy's. We utilize a local engineer, Windstorm Engineering, that engineered the designs for these homes. We replaced 79 manufactured homes that are all Wind Zone 2. And I can say, actually have 55 households that we case manage that receive brand new General Land Office HAP homes. And probably the most famous one is the one on Market Street, which was the first here in Rockport that was actually case managed by CBDRG, Cheryl, our case manager. We did 181 major repairs. Anytime we replaced a roof, we made sure that it was TWIA certified so that they can get insurance. And we have 179,000 volunteer hours. We personally case manage 1,200 homes, and we reached out to almost 6,500 households to see if they needed assistance. Through our unmet needs roundtable, and that's like affectionately called the Coalition of the Willing, because people will come in and come out, and what it is funders, volunteer organizations sit on one side of the table. Case managers will present a case, and then what happens is that the funders all get together and they try to figure out how they can resolve the issues. And the reason why that is essential is because not all organizations can do everything. Somebody might have money, somebody might have volunteers, somebody might only be able to handle this city or that city. So by these funders and volunteer organizations coming together, they'll say, hey, I'll pay for the materials if you provide the labor. And so that's how we are able to maximize the dollars that are donated and make sure that we help as many people as possible. And through our unmet needs roundtable, there was $22.4 million obligated to the coastal bend. 124 houses were rebuilt, 147 manufactured homes replaced, and they had 367 major repairs. So through our unmet needs roundtable, 708 households received help. We also had, in the middle of dealing with Hurricane Harvey, we also had the Texas severe windstorm in February. And we operated in 6 counties and restored 141 households with basic water services. This was an interesting disaster because it tended to be the severely elderly, blind, handicapped. And so Mennonites Disaster Services called us up and said, hey, there's a terrible storm coming your way. Can we help? And that's, again, why it's important to have a long-term recovery group, because they were able to bring 700 or provide us with 740 volunteer hours of plumbers that we could go out and restore these basic essential services to. As far as Aransas County, I'm sure you guys always want to know. In Aransas County, CBDRG spent $3.5 million in construction. And for the coalition, almost $7.3 million was obligated here in Aransas County. And those, when you talk to these national VOADs, you really appreciate how special the coastal bend is and our ability to work together to solve problems. And I think that's something we should all take great pride in, because it's that community effort that tries to help as many individuals as possible. And the best part of my job is I'm not surrounded by people that are egomaniacs. They're all wanting to give credit to somebody else and not themselves. And I know it's all about numbers, but when you see people like that in the video, it's really about people. And I always get overwhelmed when I see home dedications, because I have an understanding of how many people it takes to make this stuff happen. I mean, people getting on a bus from Ohio, riding 22 hours to come down here to the coastal bend, to swing a hammer for 10 days, get back on their bus, go back up there. And they even have to provide their own bus lunch. They have to pay for their own, their own lunch on the way down. And I'm like, really, I'm willing to do that for you. But the generosity of these people is so important. And I just wanted to say, thanks the county and the city of Rockport. You guys have been great partners with us. And one of the things we're doing, we are trying to formalize our relationships with the different counties. We've presented them to 6 of the counties so far. And 2 of them has actually signed the MAA agreement. And so that's one of the things we wanted to talk to you guys about. Do you want to talk about that?
Say that last part again. How many people are already, how many governments or groups are already a member of?
Well,
or
you
have already
signed
signed
the
a
MAA,
similar agreement?
Two counties have signed it.
2
Um,
counties.
And then two others are in legal, of course. And then the other one is up for consideration.
Which counties have signed it?
Both San Patricio and Refugio have both signed it.
Refugio.
This was our desire to do this back in 2015 and 16 when we first were creating this organization. It was always the end goal. Obviously with Harvey and then everything else, it just took a little while to kind of get to a point where we could come back around and say, okay, now again, what do we know and how do we want to do it better in the future? The one thing I will mention, and glad to take any additional questions, is the board is you. This group is yours. This was designed and developed by emergency managers in this region. It was designed and developed by the voluntary organizations that are in this region who are working every day, and by the private funders. So when we look at the board makeup, it is a combination of government, private sector, and our faith and non-governmental entities. And we're very Proud of that. In other areas, they do it all faith or all volunteer, and it creates its own challenges, and there's no skin in the game for government. Other areas are all government. Well, that's not good either, because this is not about solving government problems. It's about solving things that government can't. But if you don't have a partnership and a relationship, the data and the sharing of needs aren't well established. And so if you look at our board makeup, you've got Judge Blasky from Refugio County, you've got Commissioner Howard Gillespie from San Patricio County, Commissioner Margie Gonzalez from Jim Wells County, and then any number of others, your Red Crosses, and the list goes on and on. So just wanted to reiterate, this board is yours. It's made up for you to support you.
How long has it been since San Pat and Refugio signed up with you? Is it recent?
Yes, ma'am.
So it hadn't activated yet. They just
Yeah, we
actually
just
signed up. They're
started
kind of-
throwing,
okay.
moving these out the door within the last couple of months to try to get scheduled.
How many counties are actually involved in the, or coastal
What?
bend disaster?
So CBDRG, I don't know why I'm talking. You know.
It's okay.
It's 11 counties. We're actually 11 counties, and everybody tells us we're crazy, but it's actually very beneficial, and I'll give an example why. We received funding from Samaritan's Purse. They had Harvey money, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they knew CBDRG is long-term recovery, so they called me up and go, hey, would you like some money? And I'm like, we can always use it. So we were able to finance 7 houses. Well, the way we were able to do it was we had some in Aransas County, some in San Patricio County, and some in Refugio. If we were just in one county, we wouldn't have been able to have enough houses to make it worth the Mennonites' time to come down here. So we're like, we have 7 houses, and then they were able to come down here. That's one of the advantages of being a coalition of the 11 counties, is that you can work together and help solve problems.
We established CBDRG to mirror the Coastal Bend Council of Governments boundaries, which is also the Governor's Planning District number 20 and the Disaster District number 20. These 11 counties work together on a regular basis for all kinds of things related to disaster response and recovery. So it made sense. We are the largest geographically and by number of counties that we serve that's been ever established to our knowledge, and definitely moving forward. The biggest reason we did it that way was to ensure that we could leverage the large donor dollars that are coming out of the urban area, and be able to benefit the rural areas. When you look at the 20 some odd $1 million, that's not local dollars. That's coming from other areas, or from our larger corporations that are housed out of the Corpus Christi area.
We're trying to follow Danielle and explaining what all this organization has done for the county. I can't follow her because she feels every blank. I'm just telling you, it was amazing what this organization did for Aransas County and the people here. So hats off to you, and I hope we can get.
And one of the things that y'all did that you mentioned that might be interesting to people is I think you have the ability to hold money. Say somebody donates money for Aransas County. You have the ability to separate that. And I think y'all did that in Harvey, to the county that it's designated to, as well as sharing the others. And another interesting thing I think is it's not just funders and Mennonites at most of those houses. The ones that I went to, maybe you had a furniture store that was donating all the furniture that went in the house, or you had people that were bringing artwork in and donating it to people to decorate their house. And there were multiple other people who volunteered to contribute.
I should say the Coastal Bend Food Bank was very great, because they realized you move into a house and you have no food, they would stock the food.
But there were multiple, the ones that I went to, that was quite amazing, that besides build, and even in the construction of the house, it seemed like there were more people that had specialized abilities that were doing things. So
Absolutely. And Commissioner, you're absolutely right about the restricted funds. If we have donors that say, we want this money to stay local in Rockport, Fulton, Aransas County, we absolutely have the ability to restrict that. We did restrict that, and we track all of that work and provide reports as necessary on all of those dollars. We had some that were Ingleside restricted or others. That's normal. We prefer them be unrestricted. That way, when we have these outside agencies that are come in and ready to work, when the cases are ready to deploy, we have flexibility, but we absolutely can do that. The the food pantry, as you mentioned, all of these different agencies. What's most important is that we don't duplicate effort. You have a lot of survivors post-event, most survivors that are asking for help everywhere they can, and they should be. Well, at some point, a lot of that aid starts coming in, and they didn't intend to get multiple agencies to offer them help, but then it happens. With this process allows us to deconflict all of that and to see that data across all of these coalition partners to say, we're not going to provide twice the amount of funding for this individual. We're going to look and see they've already received X amount from FEMA or X amount from Samaritan's Purse or what have you. And so we work with them one-on-one to develop their individual recovery plans and to make sure we're not duplicating effort and duplicating dollars that are being spent in the community.
You mentioned that reports were given regarding the restricted funds as necessary or as requested. To whom were those reports given? Because after Harvey, the HR, treasurer, and auditor's office were the only contingent in the courthouse that still had phone service. And I know I took a lot of calls from folks who were interested in providing resources and just wanted to send money straight to me. And I told them, no, that's not a good idea. But I never saw any report that said how the money donated to Aransas County for Aransas County was distributed. And if you have that sort of report, I would be interested in seeing it. Not right now. You have another 20 items on the agenda, but I would very much like to see how that was budgeted and allocated and some kind of financial report.
Yeah, I would say, Commissioner, that there's probably two separate items. Those funds that were allocated to CBDRG is what we have the reporting on. There's no doubt there was other money being donated within Aransas County that did not come to CBDRG.
Right, but this, I do believe, came over to yours, but
The-
I
the-
still would be interested in seeing that sort of report. Right.
Yeah.
We actually had somebody from Rockport that would come and sit in, that would come sit in on those and decide, yes, that's something we would do. That's something we'd like to do. So and then we provided them with the report.
You provided the chamber with a report, not the
Hold on,
county.
hold on.
Well,
So the
whoever
Rockport Fulton Chamber Foundation,
Yes.
who received funding
Right.
on behalf of Aransas County, when the decision was made that those dollars would move over to CBDRG, that was all fully accounted for. And we have those reports. A member of the Chamber Foundation was on the committee that any cases that were managed and approved, they had approval authority on that. We also had more than one board member from Aransas County, including myself and John Jackson, who reviews all of our financial reports. But if you would like specific to the Chamber Foundation, I'm sure that's not a problem for us to do that now that we're looking kind of retroactively on how we performed. But part of this, by using the foundation, the Coastal Bend Community Foundation, is all of their accounting is taken care of, as well as ours. Our treasurer is a CPA. We are annually audited, and we're more than happy to share whatever appropriate documentation you would like to see for that. But specifically, Aransas County funds that were reserved came from the Chamber Foundation.
Okay, I appreciate everything that your organization has done, and your item is number 12, and I'm pretty sure y'all have other things that you'd like to do instead of sitting here waiting for item 12. Anybody on the court have any other questions so they can leave and we can possibly take action on this?
Why don't you, I suggest maybe that you would move that agenda to the top of the list. Is that right?
Well, we can do that.
If
too.
we're going to consider it now, I would actually like to table it because the agreement itself, I think, needs some work. Some of its definitions don't quite mesh well, and there are some ambiguities in it. And I would really appreciate having until next week to look it over more thoroughly and talk to the county attorney about it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I move to table.
I believe that the COP agreement that you have in your packet is the agreement that I revised.
I do appear to have a revised version, not the one I studied last week in preparation for the meeting, but it's not redlined. And even looking at it, there are still some questions I'd like to raise with you if we could just table this for a week.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
No. 4 for, 1 against. All right, under consent agenda items. We have 3, and again, Laurie's been at work. She got $100 for supplies from Lillian Beasley, and we much appreciate that, Miss Beasley. Also, a memorial bench was donated to Aransas County Pathways from Aransas Bird and Nature Club for Deborah Kapora in memory of her husband, Sam Kapora, in the amount of $2,047.85.
I move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Casterline. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. Item 6,
I move to approve order O-20-2022 and order authorizing online instruction for the continuing education of county commissioners, except for a county commissioner in the first 12-month period of the commissioner's first term.
I'll second that.
motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney. Any discussion?
I'll just mention that this was necessitated by the 87th legislature to require Commissioners Court to give approval for commissioners outside of the first 12-month commissioners to attend virtually any conferences.
And it doesn't mention the county judge?
It didn't mention the county judge, it just said county commissioners.
Okay.
And so the understanding is the except for means if you're a commissioner in your first year, you must do in-person training as opposed to saying the opposite. Okay.
And this template was provided by the Texas Association of Counties and the County Judge and Commissioners Association.
So it looks like if we want the county judge also to be able to take advantage of online education, we'll have to talk to the legislature about it.
Yes.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. Item 7, discuss, approve.
I move to approve the second quarter 2022 report of the Rockport Cultural Arts District.
Ms. Day.
Is there a second?
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney.
Good morning.
Morning.
Ready?
Jennifer Day, Rockport Cultural Arts District, 902 East Cornwall. I have a little bit of a challenge with my voice this morning. So our RCAD's official Aransas County liaison is going to present this morning. I'll stand here.
Okay, you're going to have to help me. That's fine. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Ready?
All right. The Rockport, whoops. It's okay. All right. As you can see, this is the depot. This is, they're working on the interior. It's been completely redone. It's absolutely beautiful. If y'all haven't visited, there's going to be the opportunity to do that with the dedication of the parking lot, and the depot will be open, and we hope you'll all come. It's the parking lot that surrounds the depot. It will be a great use to downtown, to the Rockport Center for the Arts. It puts walking distance to many of the businesses downtown. And they found artifacts as they were doing the parking lot. Several different things, and we have them at the depot, so be sure and come see. The museum soft opening was May 21st of 2022. And The Passport to the Past program was launched May 21st also. The Passport to the Past program challenges people to visit 4 different museums here in the county, which are the Fulton Mansion, the History Center, the Maritime Museum, thank you, and the Depot. They can just scan the QR code at each museum, check in, and then they receive a prize on the 4th museum visited. It's pretty cool. It also captures visitor data, includes zip codes, potential volunteers, potential members, and establishes a database. And this is the zip code collection, 521 to 630, outside 75 miles. It was 42%, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, and within 75 miles, 58%.
One of the things I just want to point out, what we're seeing is a lot of homeschool families come in, which is really, really cool. There's a need for this and for them to visit 4 fantastic museums and really learn. It's a great hands-on experience.
And the Corpus Christi Antiques Club donated the San Antonio and Aransas Pass artifacts. And it recently hosted 20 club members and the Depot Advisory Group. Heritage Preservation Award for the Rockport Railroad Depot. This was at the History Center back in May. Very nice recognition. And we also sponsored the Art Colony Symposium. If you haven't had the book, if you haven't purchased the book yet, oh, please get one. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful coffee table book. Keynote speakers, we had Texas Art History, Bill and Linda Reeves had exhibits, the Simon Michael exhibit at the Depot for that weekend, just a bunch of different events, and it was wonderful. So the Rockport Culture, oh, and that's it. Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, these are zip codes.
Okay. So the zip code collection was for these 125 attended the events, 40 visitors outside 75 miles, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, and book proceeds benefited the History Center for Aransas County. One of a kind event, bringing a decade of artists who studied under Simon Michael and are featured in the Rockport Fulton Art Colony book. There's a book signing, and that was at the Fulton Mansion Visitors Center. It was another lovely event, so many nice people, and just positive comments on the book. It's just beautiful. And a lot of the artists were there to sign. Okay, and Cultural Interface Project update. The Native American series continues. Of course, that's Steve Russell. Second quarter 2022, the European series Sculptures, Foundry, Wax Patterns, Investment Molding, Bronze Pouring, Target completion September of 2022. Then the execution of the second series continues, Native American Sculptures, and of course, continued fundraising and planning. Other initiatives. Downtown Second Saturday, Farmers Market, Makers Market, they have entertainment, Market on Main, and this is all in the Cultural Arts District and Heritage District. The zip code collection, April 2022, outside 75 miles, 71%. That was Colorado and Texas, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, within 75 miles, 29%. And the district merchant meeting on May the 10th. Social media marketing. The social media, oh, sorry. They can read the numbers. She's right. Okay. And there's the numbers. If you have any questions, we can help you with that. And thank you from the Rockport Cultural Arts District Board.
Thank you.
I want to compliment you on the Art Colony weekend, getting the different organizations together and so many activities to just celebrate the arts in our community. It was an absolutely fantastic event.
All right. Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Wamba.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item number 8.
I move to approve order 0212022, in order to prohibit on-street parking on the portions of Griffith Drive adjacent to Live Oak Learning Center.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Cheney. Any discussion?
I just have a question. I wonder if there, because I think in the description, there was comment that there were school officials supported this, which I can understand that. And I know that that area is a very busy area. But were the Peninsula Oaks residents contacted about this change?
Let me answer that.
Okay,
It's been a problem. I live in that area and it's been a problem for a long time. We took 3 crossovers out thinking that we would help that because we've had several incidents. No one's been hurt or killed that I know of over there all the time that Live Oak's been there. But there's many 500 cars go through that place. And that is a single lane, one way on going both directions. And there's simply no room for people there's barely room for people to park on one side. But on opening day and that opening week, they were parking on both sides and you couldn't get a truck through there at all. This is something we've been talking about for a long time and we need the school to put in an alternative way to get into there because there was a line outside of the office the first and second day that was well over 300 people long. And it was just zigzagging and part of it was on the street. But this also needs to be not only for the school, but for people coming in and out of Peninsula Oaks. We're getting a lot of UPS trucks and Amazon and a lot of merchant deliveries and things through there. And that road is simply not designed for people to be parking on the side. Now, this is going to make some people upset, and probably not Peninsula Oaks people, but other people, because they drive up there, they park, they take their kids in. If you go into the parking lot of Peninsula Oaks from anywhere from 6:30 in the morning to 7:30, 7:45, if you go into the parking lot, you cannot get out because the line is so long. Sheriff and I have talked about this over the last several years, and I 100% support this.
To answer the question, the school district did come to me, superintendent sent the chief to request this action be taken. They're trying to discourage parking out on the road and walking in because of the safety of people. They would actually walk through that ditch. It's dry enough, which led them to pop up in the middle of traffic that, to his comment, it was so congested they couldn't see. I have a picture of the first day and it did lead to a backup. This is people's effort to drop off and walk their child in without having to park in the parking lot because they don't want to get held up. But it creates a safety issue for the kids crossing from the northbound side, crossing the southbound traffic, end of the deal. When it broke up the first day of school, they got ready to leave. There were several vehicles that were stuck in the edge of that ditch because of the drought that we've had and the dry sand. This is the first step they're taking in an effort to try to relieve some of the traffic and keep cars moving on Griffith, which should be to the delight of the people in the Peninsula Oaks area. I have been approached already last Thursday and Friday, had a discussion that I'll take to Cheney later to try to extend some of the loop on their property to get the cars off of Griffith and off of Market. This is a chronic problem we have every year for the first 6 and 7 weeks of the school year until I think we see a transition of drop-offs, more people on the buses, people get their scheduling figured out or change the route that they're running if they're taking kids to other campuses. But it does get better. But we're trying to find a way to solve this thing where we don't have this even the first week or two of school.
Another problem that we have there is not only letting people offer, or kids offer school and picking people up, but whenever we have Meet the Teacher Night and where we have PTA and we have movies at the there at the school and just different things, people just park everywhere. They really do. I talked with Eli Ramos, who is on the school board, and I've talked with, did I talk with you about that, Ray? Yeah, they have some plans of opening up the back patio or the back playground area for parking. The problem is how to get there. And so I've discussed Eli to talk with the superintendent about closing or purchasing the area that is just to the south of the fence line. We have a major drainage area through there, but purchasing the area to the south and using that as a circle loop and parking in the back of the school. There's just, once you get in there, I'm telling you, there's no way to get out. And you can't get emergency vehicles in there into the parking area during those time periods. It's really a mess. And I've actually seen cars parked all the way, or in the line, all the way back to Dollar General, trying to get into Live Oak. It's just a terrible mess.
I think Commissioner Russo had a question pending.
She asked if it came from the district. Yes, it did.
No, if the people who lived in Peninsula Oaks were, if it was
No, I
discussed
did
with
not
them.
contact them. No, it's, I don't know why anybody would object us keeping that roadway open if you're living in there.
Yeah.
And that's the effort. They're trying to ensure the safety of the children and the people crossing on that southbound from the northbound, because they're parking on both sides. I have a picture of it and I can email that to the court. If you want to look at it later. It was quite a congested mess out there. the
No,
first
it's
day this year.
definitely a nightmare.
And this is not the final solution. What we did a few years ago in taking out the crossovers allowed us to reduce the manpower that took me in the morning. We used to go out there with 7 and 8 deputies every morning for an hour and a half to facilitate the traffic and keep people moving. By taking out the crossovers, we didn't have to stage people all up and down Griffith, which reduced the manpower it took to move traffic. We have exiting right only and looping back to keep them going. But now the school district has another request or recommendation. It'll involve, I think, some partnership with David Reed and the county at the court wants to involve to try to lengthen the loop that we have on their property of vehicular traffic, which would take them off of Market and reduce it maybe down to just Griffith back up. We may remove that as well. Just depends on what we can do on the property.
Thank you.
Basically, and I've only had one comment from folks in Peninsula Oaks, and that was the same gentleman that talked about the cats getting run over. And he thought that was not a good idea, but I visited with him at some length, and he still didn't think it was a good idea.
He thought that what was not a good idea, the no parking?
He
What
He
did,
didn't like us taking the crossovers out.
oh, right.
Any other?
Cheney,
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lala.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye.
There you go. I move to approve the conceptual plan for a planned unit development proposed by SAA EVI Partnership LLC, which will be located at 3402 through 3430 Highway 35 Business
North.
and 3432 through 44 Highway 35 Business and 151 through 237 State Highway 188.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second that.
Second, Commissioner Cheney. Discussion, Cat, are you on the line?
And we have
Yes,
a,
sir.
That, ma'am.
And Mr. Moreland is the gentleman in front of y'all. He is with the developer and is also here to answer any questions. But this would be a planned unit
Make sure
development.
you're
And so
online,
this is
sir.
just,
Go ahead.
Good
Discussion.
morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration on this concept plan development.
But hold on, sorry. Start with your name, please,
My
people.
name is Doug Moreland.
Thank you.
I'm with SAE EVI Partnership, the developer.
And would you tell us a little bit about it? Do you have the
Sure.
diagram to go up on the screen?
Yeah, we just uploaded the plan.
And you also have
I do have
paper
paper
drawings
copies
that you
if
said you
anybody
could
would
give
like
us?
those,
It should be in your packet.
to distribute those.
The
They
one in
were-
my packet was very small.
Yeah, so you, you have big ones for us.
Yeah.
Would you
Good,
like a
thank
large
you.
one?
I believe, thank you.
Yeah. We've talked about this for quite some time, with, the people that brought that,
Do you have extras? Could you?
they've, we've been working on that, what, 3 years, I guess,
Thank you.
maybe? Okay, well, I've been talking to the owner over that.
The business highway north and 188. In my mind, I can't picture those two coming together. Is it
Sure.
Maybe the bypass?
No, it's business south. That's why I left north off.
Yeah, to
Ah.
help you. So that entrance there on the right, which is the main entrance, that lines up with the gated entrance to Buena Vita.
Then
And that's the Shell station on the corner of 188 and 35. So
Just-
Islands of Rockport's just north.
housekeeping thing, we need to amend the motion because at least I think I blurted out north and besides it says.
I didn't say north, but
Yeah,
it should say south.
south,
yes.
okay.
Okay, but Commissioner Russo, do you amend the motion? I know you didn't say it, but we.
To add south.
And Commissioner Cheney, do you amend?
Yes.
I do amend the motion to say the address is indicating that it's Business Highway 35 South.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, that's all our heart. Go ahead.
So this is an assemblage of two tracks, totaling approximately 25 acres. The plan before you is a planned unit development. I'll start with the frontage along 35. In the plan, that is commercial retail space of approximately 20,000 square feet, as well as multifamily apartments. Then as you move in on the main entrance, the remainder of the project is primarily single-family lots. There's a central lagoon, which is an existing pond that will be excavated, as well as three other ancillary ponds that will also be excavated to, one, accommodate the stormwater management system, and two, to generate fill to bring portions of the site that are not well above the floodplain up to a +9 or +10 elevation. We're donating a generous amount of green space, as shown in the middle of the plan. And everything about this road layout, the lot sizes, is designed to encourage more of a walkable community. We do have the setbacks on the lots are meant to be reflective of more like a coastal village type vernacular, with both homes in the attached for sale product. We have two entrances. So there's the main entrance that I pointed out that goes on to 35. There's also a secondary entrance on 188. Been working with the county on understanding the stormwater management conditions there. We have done preliminary engineering on the flow and capacity that we'll need for both detention and water quality. The next step will be, as we move through the plating process, to do more robust engineering, and we'll probably tweak those ponds and a little bit of the volume calculations a bit as we go. In terms of utilities, obviously, this is a project that requires sewer service to do this type of density. So we've been working with the City of Rockport, with Gene Camargo, and Carrie Dietrich over the last 3 months. We've identified capacity in a lift station that's approximately 3,100 feet away. So we'll run a force main to that lift station we may have to do some upgrades either to that station or downstream. And that will give us the sewer service. Water service is located directly across the street on 188.
Are y'all still seeking to close that part of Mac Road that goes up on the property?
On the left there off of 188, there's a
Right.
right of way there. Yeah, I need to dig into that a little bit deeper. I've just held it as a right of way, so we didn't include developable area there.
That's an area that is a dedicated right of way. But it's not used, and the people that are on the north side of that have not indicated any opposition to that. And I think that this particular property actually owns both sides of that right of way by about 6 feet on the north side, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, David? David here?
No.
Cat, is
Cat.
that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Cat, is that correct? On Mac Road?
Yes, sir. It is a right of way.
So it would be if we decide to give that up, it would be 100% back to this development.
I apologize. The sound is cutting out. It would either, they would have to do, would not be able to landlock anyone. So if they did want to have that right of way abandoned, we would have to verify that there was adequate egress and ingress for any of the property that would be adjoining it.
Yeah. We've done that earlier, but we'll need to do it formally.
But is Mac Road outside of the plat that he's showing us right now?
No, it's actually right here. It's, if you look right here on this dotted line, that's where Mac Road comes in.
Right in there.
That'd be in the north.
But it appears to be outside the plat.
Well, yeah, but we've been working on possibly getting it in where it'd be completed in that, so. But that's not what, that was just an aside that, we have been working on.
Thank you.
All right.
Have you needed to talk to the Director of Environmental Health, Valerie Gonzalez, about a tree permit?
Yes, we will do a tree survey, and I've been given her contact information to begin that dialogue.
Okay, she was here earlier, but I think she might have had to leave.
Aren't there very few trees on that track?
Most of the trees are back where the larger lots are, over on the left. And of course, we'll certainly look at bending the layout and the roads once we get that tree survey plotted on the plan.
Kat, is this going to help the drainage towards that convenience store that's been a problem?
We'll have to see the drainage plans once they're finished. I will have to defer to David on that for more specifics on the hydrology.
Okay.
Commissioner, this is David.
Yeah,
Can you
David.
hear me?
Yes.
I have been working with the developer on the drainage. They understand that there is off-site drainage that's coming through there that I'll need to have some plan that accommodates that, and I don't think there'll be an issue.
Okay. Do you think that with this amount, do you think there's going to need to be a road crossing? 35 road crossing?
I don't think so. There's a good structure just on the other side of 188 that should handle any crossing.
Okay, good deal.
Any other discussion for this? Yes, sir.
It was, it's an Aransas Pass address, so it is those numbers on North Highway 35. I checked on the appraisal district and it has Aransas Pass, so somewhere around there is where it switches.
Thank you. The tax assessor just let me know that, and I was going to amend my motion back to the original address.
Okay, I thought
But
that.
thank you, Jerry. You're on top of it.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
but
No
I want
problem.
The motion to be right.
Yeah.
Getting
Right.
used to it.
I
Okay,
need
so
to make
that's-
that motion again.
Is it deemed amended or do we need language?
Need to amend the
Okay.
motion again.
All right. Let me just, where is it? I move to approve a conceptual plan for a planned unit development proposed by SAA EVI Partnership LLC which will be located at 3402 through 3430 Highway 35 Business North, Aransas Pass, and 3432 through 3444 Highway 35 Business North, Aransas Pass, and 151 through 237 State Highway 188.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney. Any further discussion?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If not, roll call.
Aye.
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 I move to approve a replat of Reserve E, Block 2 of the Boardwalk at St. Charles Bay, a planned unit development into 3 lots, lots 1E, 2E, and 3E.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Castellano.
Mr. Berg.
Morning, Commissioners and
Good morning.
Judge. Thank you all for considering this again. This mimics our, what we did a couple months ago, where we had a tract that was originally considered for condos that we are now going to split up into single-family home sites.
Now, is this the same one and that was just a preliminary, or this is a similar one in a slightly different location?
Similar, different location.
Thank you. I've got no questions about it. I mean, this is in my precinct. It's in Lamar. They're still fiddling around with which places will be held as open versus have building lots on them, and maybe putting the open places in other locations and working with sun angles and so forth.
Anyone else have any questions? If not, roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castelline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lala.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to approve a budget adjustment in the county's general land office GLO Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Contract 065098C270 to move funds in the amount of $54,457 from the Holiday Beach construction budget to the Copano Heights construction budget in order to complete the Copano Heights construction project.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Castellano. Any discussion? Not roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castelline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lala.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. Unanimous. Item 12's been
Move.
tabled. Item 13.
I move to approve the county treasurer's report for July 2022.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castelline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lala.
Oh, sorry, aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. Item 14.
I move to approve the county clerk's annual plan for funding the preservation and restoration of archive records.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Laubach. Any discussion?
I have a question. Was the county clerk-elect involved in this annual plan?
I have brought the county clerk-elect into the, all of the budgeting. We did not specifically, we talked, I guess, what's the word for it? Globally about this and the project, and she was happy for it to be taken care of. I did not show her the final plan. Are there any other questions?
I'd like to call on the county clerk-elect and see if, because personally, I would rather table this until next week and have you receive an opportunity to review the plan and be comfortable with the plan to be falling under your tenure. Yes.
I will not be here next week. And this does need to be done within the
Have you got a statutory deadline or something? When does it run?
it needs to be approved during budget.
During budget?
So during August? Is that what budget means? Or is budget actually?
Adopting the
Actually,
budget.
we won't set budget until the 12th of September.
So we could do it 2 weeks from now? Not mess up your budget, I mean, your deadline?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have to do this anymore as the district clerk statute changed, but there's also requirements that we have to notify the public. That's why you got a different time to break on this.
I am aware of most of this is statutory, and the preservation and restoration of archive records and that $10 fee, that's been going on for years.
Right.
And it's just an annual thing that has to happen for those.
So you don't
So-
have a problem with doing
You haven't got any concerns about your hands being tied or?
Not really, no.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castro,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Abstain.
Commissioner Lala,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. 4 for, 1 abstention.
So that was just 14. I'll do 15. I move to approve continuing the established county clerk records archive fee of $10 for instruments filed into the county's official records, which is necessary for funding the ongoing preservation, maintenance, and accessibility of our county's historical records as authorized under the local government code section 118.025.
Second.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Castelline. Any discussion? Not roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castro.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lala,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous.
I move to approve a request to solicit requests for proposals for county clerk's long-term plan for imaging, indexing, and preservation of county clerk archive records.
Second.
Motion made and second, Commissioner Castelline. Any discussion?
I just want to go on record that I am in favor of doing this. I would like to be involved in the process of who we select, since I'm going to be the one dealing with it mostly.
Is that a problem?
No, it's unlikely that we'll get a lot of respondents anyway.
Correct.
But you will be part of the process.
Yes.
Yes.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castro,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lala,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye, unanimous. 17.
I've separated these out because the agenda item, if we could do the portion of it first, it's not the action item, there's the challenging. There's an action separate from the.
On the discussion side, which is what is my standard addition to the agenda, I did not receive any requests for anything in particular to be discussed today.
All right.
I move to schedule the 2023 budget public hearing for August 29th, 2022 at 8:45 a.m. I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Russo. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Castro,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo, Commissioner Lala,
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye,
Oh, thank you.
Unanimous.
unanimous. Discuss and take action, elected officials' salaries and expenses to be included in the budget.
There is no action on this today. It just is on here. We wanted to let everyone know that the salaries have been published in the paper and will be on the
Public hearing
public hearing will be
on the 29th at
as
eight.
adoption with on September 12th with the budget.
So I believe we need to table this because it does say take action on the agenda item.
Move to table.
Second.
That was Commissioner Cheney, Commissioner Russo, is that correct?
Yes.
Jackie, how will the protest that's in place affect this?
What protest?
Understanding is we have no protest. It has been rescinded.
Oh, okay.
What protest was there? I hadn't heard of a protest.
Protest might not be the right word.
No.
Had a
grievance.
grievance filed and then it was rescinded.
A salary grievance
Yes,
by an elected official?
yes.
Yes. ma'am.
Okay. So we need to table this?
I think
Yeah,
we
We have table.
we moved and seconded. We just haven't voted.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye.
I move to approve budget line item transfers.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, Commissioner Cheney. Any
Have
discussion?
none at this
Have
time.
none. Good. Roll call.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. 20.
I move to approve accounts payable and payroll/payroll liabilities.
Second.
Motion made.
Information, Jay.
This normal payroll liabilities and accounts payable, we do have a $2 million transfer from the bond, the tax notes to the downtown anchor. We have had 2 invoices from Teal Construction, and that is to cover those invoices.
Can you say again, the transfer from to? Transfer from,
I transferred $2 million from the tax notes, the 2021 tax notes, to the downtown anchor, the courthouse project fund.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
aye.
Commissioner Lava.
Aye.
Judge Mills.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, now it's time for any elected official or department head. Have anything to bring up?
Oh, I wanted to compliment the sheriff and his deputies for the traffic control that they did at Live Oak. They were out and early on that first and second days. They did a good job. I do want to make one comment, though. The deputy that is on is on Market. He needs to put his reflective glove on because I almost run over him this morning, didn't see him. But whenever he stops the traffic, he needs to wear his reflective gloves. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to mention that Jason Leno will be back next Monday to give us a report on the expanded program for the testing, sampling, and investigation of the red beds. And that for Bend Basin estuaries are also going to go in and expand the program. And Jason will be here to answer questions. He's at the NAP district this morning.
It's not the red beds, it's Port Bay and Coconut Bay.
Thank you.
Do we have any progress on the emergency services director or the emergency director?
Not for me. Any further?
I just have, sorry,
Whoa,
Hello?
it was eerie.
Disney.
That
I
Dave?
have one. It's the,
You're echoing.
yeah, coming out of the speakers on the TV. How's that?
Better.
Okay, I have one item and it's, we're just a week away from our state deadline to submit compliance with House Bill 3834. And so far, everybody's in compliance. We're tracking down the last few new hires that are starting this. That is the cybersecurity. And so we'll be putting that on the agenda next week to submit to the state that we are in compliance.
Okay, great. Any fee reports or anything?
I'd also like to mention that I found out over the weekend, the Texas Public Utility Commission recently voted to increase Texas Universal Service Fund surcharge
Here, use mine.
from 3.3% to 24%. This is effective August 1st. This fund allows telecom service providers to continue serving rural Texans who wouldn't otherwise have access to regular phone service. This was approved by the Texas legislature. It's about an 800% increase. So when you see your phone bill for August and there's an increase, you'll understand what it's for. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you.
I'll point out.
Motion made to adjourn.
Second it.
Second,
Go ahead.
Mr. Cheney. what do you want?
I was gonna say, I'll point out, we are already seeing it on our bills for the county. It
Okay.
affects us as well.
All right.
It's
All
a
right.
huge increase.
I think you're off.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.